Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to replace your bathroom faucet. Now as you can see, I have this faucet right here and I'm going to be replacing it with this faucet right here, okay? So I'm going to go through the steps and show you how you can do this yourself. Watch and listen closely. Alright, so the first step is to shut off the water supply to the faucet. So as you can see right now, I am actually underneath the bathroom sink right here, and I'm gonna take these two knobs right here, one's for the hot and one's for the cold, and I'm just gonna turn them just to tighten them. So just like this, I'm gonna turn each of the knobs until they are completely tight, just like that, and that will ensure that I am shutting off the water supply to the faucet so I don't have to worry about any water coming out. For the next step, you're going to have to free up this little sink stopper plug rod right here. So head under the sink, and I apologize for the poor lighting. You will see that the sink stopper will have a little nut on it, just like that right there. You're going to unscrew that little, that bolt, not a nut, I'm sorry. Unscrew that bolt, and that should free up the little, this little rod right here. So once I've unscrewed that bolt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually head on top of the sink again, and then I should be able to pull this right out. So let's see, we should be able to pull it right out. And as you could hear, the piece that was underneath the sink fell, but that's fine. I can just reattach it after. Now for the next step, you're gonna have to actually remove the water supply lines from the faucet right there, okay? So I've put down a towel right here because there might be some water that comes out once you do it, because there might be some water that's left in the lines, but that's just in case. There might not be any water in the lines, it all depends, okay? So basically you're gonna take these two water supply lines right here, these two compression pieces right here, and you're gonna, well in this case they're compression, they might not be. But you're going to take the water supply lines out. So I've already loosened them a little bit, but you might have to really put some force with two hands. I'm just going to take my channel locks right here, and I'm just going to use them to completely loosen this little piece right here. So I'm going to keep, ooh, can't get a good grip over here with one hand. I'm going to keep loosening it with the channel locks little by little, and then sooner or later I will be able to take it out with my hand. Let's see if I can do it. Yep, just like that. So I'm going to take this one out. As you can see, I'm loosening it, and then in a few more spins, there we go, and a little bit of water dripped out, but that's fine. So I've taken one out, and you can go ahead and take that one out, and I'm not going to show you me taking the other one out because it's literally the exact same thing. So remove both of the water supply lines from the faucet right there. Now, as you can see, I've removed the water supply lines and they're hanging freely right here, and thank goodness we cut off the water supply because they're not, water's not completely coming out of them. So the next step is actually to take off the wings that are holding the faucet to the sink, to the vanity counter over here. So these wings right here, these little black pieces, I'm going to remove them. Now, once again, I've already loosened this. I've used both hands, so this I'm able to just completely take it off like that. Just spin them off, and try not to lose them. You don't really need them. Your new one should come with them, but just in case. So I've removed one. You're going to do the exact same thing with the other. Remove both of these little plastic wing pieces right here, and that will allow you to remove the faucet. Use both hands because they're probably in there really tightly. Now here comes the fun part. Now that I've removed the water supply lines from the faucet and I've taken out those plastic wings that held the faucet in place, I can actually just take the faucet out with one hand. It'll just lift right out. Now, there you go. There's a faucet, the old faucet that I've lifted out. In this case, it had a little plastic piece underneath that stopped it, from leaking. But you might have a plastic piece and some plumber's putty over here. This person didn't put any plumber's putty, but if you did have any previous plumber's putty here, what you're going to want to do is scrape it off. Remove all of the plumber's putty from the vanity in the spot that the faucet was. Now that you've removed the faucet and gotten rid of any extra plumber's putty that was on there, you're just going to want to clean the area. So I just have a damp sponge with a scratchy side to it right here with some, and I'm just going to actually just take this and I'm just going to rub the area just like that. Just get off, make the area as smooth, make the surface as smooth as possible. Just take literally, 15 to 20 seconds and rub that area with a scratchy, sponge or some sort of cloth that will wipe any particles off there. And then once you've done that, you're going to want to take a dry towel and just dry the area just like that. Wipe it over, make sure that it is completely dry. You can touch it and feel that it's completely dry. And before I did that, it was very, very scratchy and it felt almost like there was a glued surface or some particles on there. But now that I've done that, it's completely smooth and ready for the new faucet. Now for the next step, you have to get some plumber's putty, and it's going to look something like this right here. I just went to my local hardware store and I picked up a tub of plumber's putty. You're going to want to take a little bit of the plumber's putty out, just, probably about that much, give or take, a little handful, and you're going to want to roll it up just like this to, when you were a kid and you made snakes out of, Play-Doh and putty and stuff like that. That's what you're going to want to do. Once you've rolled it into a thin little snake, what you're going to do is put it around the hole, just like that. You're going to sort of, tightly around the hole, but not overlapping the inner rim. So just make sure you have a clean inner rim and wrap it around the hole to form a circle around the hole, and then use your fingers to push it down and flatten it a little bit. So take the plumber's putty, turn it into a snake, roll it between your hands, turn it into a snake, press it down to make sure that it's flat around the hole, but don't interfere with the inner rim. Make sure that there's no putty going onto the inner rim of the hole. I'm sorry, I forgot to add one thing in that last step, and that was that you must do the circular plumber's putty around each of the holes. I had only shown it on one of them, but you must do it on each of the holes on your sink. And in this case, there are 3 holes, so I've done 3 circles of plumber's putty around the holes. As you can see, they're flat and they're not interfering with the inner rim of each of the holes. So this is what it should look like when you are done. Now here comes the next fun part. We're going to take this new faucet right here, we're going to put it inside those 3 holes right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I take the wings off, right, the plastic wings that I was talking about that secure it to the vanity. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and just literally place it in the 3 holes just like that, trying to place it as, center and securely as possible. And it might be a little wobbly because the plumber's putty hasn't really set in yet and hasn't been squished down, but you're just going to want to make sure that it is in place right now. Continuing on, under the sink, we are going to take those plastic wings and secure them onto, we're gonna tighten them onto these little, these pieces right here of the faucet. So once again, I'm just gonna take them and I'm going to spin them on just like that, and I'm going to make sure that I tighten them evenly. So I'm going to do this one and then this one a bit and go back and forth until they're really tight, and that is what's going to hold the faucet onto the vanity, and that is ultimately what's going to squish the putty down and allow everything to become basically leak proof for the most part. So as you can see, I have them both on sort of tight, and then I'm going to tighten this one a bit, I'm going to tighten that one a bit, and I'm going to keep going back and forth until they're as tight as possible without going crazy, as tight as possible with regards to finger tightening them. The next step is to reconnect both of the water supply lines. So I'm going to start with this one right here, and I'm just going to take it and, finger tighten it on that piece right there right now. I'm going to just finger tighten it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my channel locks again, and I'm truly going to tighten them as much as possible. And these are compression fittings right here, so there's no plumber's putty needed. There's no plumber's tape, anything like that. With compression fittings, they basically secure themselves and they shouldn't leak, and that's the beauty of technology and how far plumbing has come. So as you can see, I'm finger tightening them right now. Then I'm just going to take my channel locks right here and I'm going to tighten them as much as I can with regards to, once again, hand tightening them. Now I just realized that I ended the last step without showing you, exactly how tight you should have these fittings. So as you can see, I have my channel locks right here, and I'm just going to tighten them to the point in which I have to try really, really hard to continue turning them with my hands. So as you can see, I'm just doing the last one right here, and I have to really, really try hard with my hand now to tighten it. So that's about as tight as you're gonna want to get these compression fittings. Now for the next step, we're gonna take the new rod right here for the drain, and we're gonna put it in where the old rod was, right in that hole, okay? Or where the old rod, the place for the rod, basically. Now you can use your old rod if you want, like I can use this one, this is the old rod, but it probably won't match. But if you don't have any other option, if your faucet by any chance didn't come with a rod, then you can use your old one. In this case, and you can just do the same thing that I'm about to show you, but with the old rod. In this case, I'm gonna be installing the new rod, which is right here. So basically, I'm going to take the rod and I'm going to put it in the hole, and to get it down, you might have to fiddle around with it for a few seconds. All right, and as you can see, I got it through the hole. I'm going to let it drop down just like that, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head under the sink right here, and I'm going to put the rod in the assembly. So if you take a look, here is the rod right here, if you can see this little piece, and then here is the assembly. So what I need to do is lift the rod up and then place it inside of this there's a little hole, oops, I missed. There's a little hole at the top of this assembly right here. So I'm gonna just try and line it up with one hand as I hold the camera with the other, and I missed again. Place it in the hole. So let's see if I can line it up. One last try. Boom, I got it. So I'm going to place it in the hole, and then I'm pushing it down, okay? So you can't really see because I can't turn around, but you might be able to see from this angle right here. If you take a look, the rod is actually, you can't really see. It's behind, it's in the assembly, okay? So you're going to place the rod in the assembly, and then you're going to take that nut that bolt that we had originally taken out, and we're going to screw it into the assembly so that, it holds the rod in place. And screw it in nice and tight so that the rod doesn't move. Just like that. Now comes the scary part. We're gonna turn the water supply lines back on. And if you've done everything properly, and if your product isn't defective, there should not be any leaks at all. So once again, I have a towel down here just in case there are any leaks. And we're gonna turn the water supply lines back on. So I'm gonna start with this one right here. I'm gonna loosen it. So I'm gonna turn it to the left right here to turn it back on. And then I'm gonna take this one right here, and I'm also gonna turn it back on. So I'm gonna loosen that one right there. And as we can see right here, well, I don't know if you can see, but I can see that there aren't any leaks. Nothing is dripping down. So I can successfully say that I've done a good job with the water supply lines. There aren't any leaks. If there are any leaks, you're going to want to address those before you put the finishing touches on your new faucet. So make sure that there are no leaks, and if there are, address them immediately. For this step, you're going to want to remove any excess putty, plumber's putty that you have there. So as you can see, there's a little bit of excess. You can use an X-Acto knife, an X-Acto blade, but that you might scratch your counter. So I just like using a putty knife, just like this. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to run it just along there and sort of scrape it off. So I'm going to run it along there and flick it off. Okay, I'm going to use the other side. I'm just going to run it along the edge right there and then flick it off. And just continually do this and get rid of any excess plumber's putty that is around your new faucet. So I'm not going to make you watch me as I do all of it, but you saw me do those two little spots. Do the exact same thing, and do a good job, because you want it to look good. You spent all that time installing it. You want it to look as good as possible. So take your putty knife and scrape all of it off. And if you need any extra help to get any off, you can just use, once again, your scratchy surface sponge over here to get any excess plumber's putty off. And the final step to this tutorial is to enjoy it. Turn your new faucet on. Now, don't be alarmed. You might hear a little bit of a pop, or if you're turning it on for the first time. Okay. So I already turned it on a few seconds ago, so you're not going to hear that same pop. But turn it on and just watch as you enjoy, and use your new faucet. Make sure that both the hot and the cold water systems work, and make sure that when you shut it off, there aren't any leaks, that it stops, dripping after a second or two. And that's basically all that there is to it. That is how to change or replace a bathroom faucet. Thanks for watching.